So, an overview of the muscles. Right now I'm just simming 18 frames. You can see we got a little bit of a jiggle. He starts static, settles for about 5 frames, and then go into the animation. So that's the idea. Because you can't have it start directly at the animation position to go start at the static position. So you could start with the test geometry for the capybara. You could just bring that in by typing test, and you can see all the different test geos. Capybara, for example. Got one here. Duplicated it twice, one for muscles, one for the bones. So for example, you could, on this output, you could toggle between the skin, muscle, bones. Stick with muscle. And then on this one, we want our bones. Here it is. By default, there's no animation on these. The muscles, generally you don't want animation on the muscles unless you're going to blend shape later, but right now you just want the actual geometry. So right now it's quads. We change that into a tet mesh. Go switch these frames. And then the fiber groom to show the direction of the fibers on the actual muscles. You can click, if you don't see anything, you can click enter. Go back to the camera, click enter. Now you can see the direction. And you could also make that smaller so it's not so large. And then muscle properties. So right now I just have general settings, but generally you could start with general settings and then add more to go to the right, and that will override the general settings. Otherwise, if you just want to have global settings, this will work good. And then you could promote different parameters like shape stiffness, so this could be added to our HDA later, or our damping ratio. And then, so right now, I'm going to turn off the constraint. Go down to our Vellum solver just so you could get the idea. There's our muscles, and they're going to flop onto the ground. Probably could have turned off some more things. Also, it should be going a lot quicker, but I'm on a laptop and I'm also doing a screen recording, so I think it's bogging it down a bit, but it should be really quick on a normal PC. But you can see these muscles are just falling on the ground. Stop, I'm gonna go back. So I turned off this constraint, which constrains the muscles to the bone. So coming over to the bone. So by default, the bones are also static. I'm templating a different layer down here. So the joint deform actually has the animation. And you could connect that up to your geometry. And then this skeleton blend, I set a keyframe at 6 and then I think 13. But basically I'm keyframing that animation on and off. So you can see they're both matching, and then it starts to change. And that way the muscles could start at the same position with the bones, and then the bones could start to follow animation, and the muscles will follow. So it's an important step. Same thing with claw simulation and other character effects simulations. You always want to blend in between the static pose and the animation position. So then this constraint, I'm going to turn this back on. And then we're going to use muscle to bone constraint. So we're going to take our muscles and we're going to constrain them to our bones. And you could promote that. So these promoting, we'll do this at the end. I'm just showing you now. And then there's muscle flex. Well, so I'll turn off muscle flex for now. Go back down. Solver. So now our muscles are attached before they're flopping. Now they're actually attached to the bone. Great. So next step is we want some flex. So right now everything's attached. I'll just click play so you can see. So you can see there's no animation, it's static, and then it's turning red, and that means that the muscle is getting activated. So by default, it's not going to get activated like that. What you could do is that you or animation could just go in here on the muscle flex and manually animate the tension. So the gut's all the way here on the bottom. You could just crank that on or off. Let's see. Something else. There we go. Get some muscles back there. So if I do this, they'll just be flexed the entire time. But ideally, if you want something to muscle to bulge at a certain moment, like when the character is standing up, you could keyframe that on and off. Because by default, it'll just stay on if you just turn that on. So you can see the difference between manual keyframes of keeping it on versus actual activation of the muscle, and that's driven by a tension line. So I'm going to turn these back to 0. And you could do a combo. You could put that to maybe 0.5 and also have tension activation. Oh, you could also just reset all too. So, and this abdomen I actually promoted for our HDA later, so you could do that later. And then to the actual tension lines, this ratio you could also change. So go. Try to find one. No. Like, oh, it's behind the camera, hard to see. Oh, there we go. So by default is 0.75, but if we want even more activation, we can slightly turn that up, and then you'll see it'll still turn on and off. So just if you want it to bulge more, or if you want it to go less, you could lower the to a smaller number. So let's see, I'm going to reset all back to our 0.75. I lost my parameter I promoted. Could add that back in later. And then so our tension lines. So here are our bones. Let's see. So in this case, I actually took the tension lines from the Muscle Masterclass Essentials and then just rescaled that to roughly match the capybara. So it's not perfect, but gets the job done. So that's connected to the third input here. And then you can see our activates wherever it's activated. And to our Vellum solver. Oh, I'm on frame 9 instead of frame 1. Oh, substeps 2. 0. Converting to tets, attribute delete, group delete. It's just cleaning it up for our cache it so it'll be a little bit lighter. And yeah, so that's our muscles. Just to spice it up, I got a turntable. So I'll turn off that cache. Actually, turntables for more frames, but it's the rough overview of muscles. So I just took little snippets here and there from the Muscle Masterclass Essentials and customize it just for this. So we end with a muscle sim, file cache, and then so if we go up a level, we turn on our fat. Let's see, that's capybara. Here's our muscles. Object merge. So we're going to bring back in those muscles. So next step is fat.